Welcome, everybody, to another episode of The Political Lens. My name is Karthik, and I'm the host of this show. Today, I have a guest for you from the great state of New York. Could you go ahead and introduce yourself, give us your background, and what you're running for, sir?
Great. My name is Hiram Monserrat. I'm from the great county of Queens, and I'm running for the 35th Assembly District in New York, which includes East Elmhurst, Corona, Rego Park, and Forest Hills. I love Queens. I'm Mr. Queens, and I'm going to do a great job for my local community here.
Awesome. Very good. So I appreciate you sharing that information with us. So if you could share with the voters who've tuned in, and we're going to leave the website, social media, all that good stuff will be in the link of this, in the description of this video. So be sure to check that out if you're tuning in. So, sir, what made you decide to throw your hat in the race?
Well, listen, I have a long history of public service. When I was 17, I joined the United States Marine Corps. When I was 20 years old, I became a member of the New York City Police Department, where I served 12 years. And one of the first places I actually patrolled was 108th Street, the district that I'm running in again, on a foot post. And I know every inch of this community and this district, and I know its needs, and I share the values of our constituents here. I had the opportunity formally to represent this community as a council member, where I served for 7 years, and a New York State Senator. Today, I am currently a Democratic district leader in the very same assembly district that I'm running in, and I'm asking for the people of this community to give me an opportunity again to represent them and to deal with the myriad of issues that we are confronted with currently, quality of life clearly being one of the top priorities.
Yeah, absolutely. And from my understanding, quality of life, like you mentioned, there's also crime levels. It's on people's minds. It's on the voters' minds. So if you could share with the voters, what is your stance on the crime levels in New York? And let's start with that. Then we'll go into the bails stuff.
Yeah. So the issue of crime is a real issue that impacts New Yorkers every single day. We see it on our subways. We see it on our streets and our major commercial strips. The amount of shoplifting, the amount of brothels that are right now on Roosevelt Avenue, which quite frankly is shameful that we are dealing with that today in 2024, that we have these kind of social conditions reappearing so strongly. Our retail shops are suffering incredibly. Some people have a misguided view on the issue of shoplifting and the real negative impact it has had to our local community, where we have seen pharmacies shut down and shops because of the degree of criminality and no repercussions. And as a result of that, stores are closing. That impacts all of us. Our seniors have a more difficult time accessing their medications that they need to live and to be healthy. So we're concerned about all these issues. But no doubt about it, the issue of crime is front and center. Just 2 days ago, we had a stabbing victim here in Queens. Before that, we've had a long history of stabbings and muggings and fighting. I mean, about 4 weeks ago, there was a shooting in the subway car between apparently someone who was mentally deranged. So we have a duality of issues. We have the very real issue of public safety, which clearly I believe I'm best equipped with to deal with due to my law enforcement background, and my government experience. But secondly, and no way less important, is the issue of mental health, and the lack of outreach that we have right now is impressive to the negative. We need more outreach to deal with people who are mentally ill, emotionally disturbed. And we need that to be done immediately. We need to take people who need help and get them the help that they need. Because too many times, either they become victims or they're victimizers. So we need to ensure that while we're enforcing the laws and have our police officers keeping us safe, we're also dealing with the very real issue of mental illness in our community, which apparently has grown post-COVID. So it's really, in my opinion, a public health concern that has not received enough attention and definitely has not received the resources that it demands.
Yeah, absolutely. And so some of those things that you mentioned that happened in New York, I've actually heard about them all the way out here in Houston, Texas. Like, this is something that is ramping up, at least how it's portrayed on social media. You know better than I do because I watch what I can on social media.
Sure.
You're there every single day. You had a lot of enforcement background. So in your perspective, based on your experience with law enforcement, with public service, what are the things that you can bring to the table as far as bail concern, like bail laws or something? Because you're going from public service to legislative. What background can you bring to the table to bring the quality of life of New Yorkers up?
Well, listen, it's interesting when we have these conversations. When I was in the New York State Senate over 10 years ago, I voted on reforms for the Rockefeller drug law, which was seen as a move towards criminal justice reform, ensuring that laws that were disproportionately impacting communities of color or lower income communities were rectified and made more fair. But it appears now that the pendulum has now swung too far in one direction. We see that in the state of New York with bad bail laws that allow people who continually commit crimes and are recidivists. Now, I want to make this clear to the viewers. We're not talking about someone who made a mistake or made a poor decision once or even twice in their life. We're talking about individuals that are arrested 20, 30, 40 times for these type of low-level offenses. And we're not calculating the very real impact they have both on the economic system and our judicial system, and that it is creating havoc to small business and larger businesses combined, but it also affects the quality of life of New Yorkers. So what's the answer? What's the better solution? In my opinion, you have to have bail laws that give the judges more discretion, not less. Secondly, we need to ensure that the system has in it checks that say, if you are a recidivist, continual offender who violates the law and is a public danger to our community and to our economic system, that we have to treat you slightly different, right? You don't get to go into the Rite Aid or the CVS and shoplift 30 times in a month, get arrested and get let go every single time. Clearly, there's an issue with that. Second to that, we have seen that a lot of the recidivist shoplifters are in fact parts of organized crime elements, where there's gangs selling on Roosevelt Avenue the things that they're stealing from the stores. Now, we've had media accounts of this, and this all really shows the impact of what's happening and the breakdown of a criminal justice system that should be working more effectively to protect both the accused, but also the community at large. And I think that's the balance that we're missing, that some of us, in an attempt to be more fair-minded and reform-minded, are making decisions and passing laws and regulations are being enforced that are not common sense approaches to the issues that we're dealing with.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is like a balancing act, and you've been in this legislature before, so you're coming at this with a lens of knowing how it works already and being able to approach it with an updated current day approach with what's happening. Because that's actually kind of scary that these organized crime is happening to shoplift because they know the penalty is so low, and then they're flipping those things on the streets. So it damages every single fabric of the community and society. You cannot have two sets of societies functioning simultaneously, where one is actually stealing from the one set of society and redistributing it to the other. It's kind of that's lawlessness. That's the anarchy that people try to keep us away from. Is that what you mean by red light district Roosevelt?
Well, listen, what's happening right now in Roosevelt Avenue is a stain to this community and a stain to this city, to the city of New York. Every single elected official in our local area, whether it's the city, state, or federal level, should be at an uproar at what they see. The other day we did a tour, and in fact, I'm going to just share with Political Lens, we're going to send you some of the footage of walking through Roosevelt Avenue. The sheer amount of garbage, hundreds of unlicensed vendors who are throwing garbage on the street, who are literally overwhelming our sanitation department. We have brothels, 30, 40 brothels operating in broad daylight at night at all hours with with people selling their wares literally on the streets in eyesight of our police officers, of our authorities, of all our elected officials. And I'd like to know, are they not seeing what's right in front of them? Do they have eyes and not see? And so the drug sales, the gang activity, the danger that's occurring, or the danger particularly for women in our subways. My wife rides the subway every day, and she tells me what's happening, and it's outrageous. People are being literally groped, amongst other things, robbed, and perhaps the sheer numbers of riders in the city of New York, which is several million a day, might dwarf, a couple of hundred incidents. But those couple of hundred incidents that are occurring to people, to human beings, to our neighbors, to our friends and family members, have a real impact. And then if you're afraid to get on the subway because someone's going to grope you or steal your iPhone, what do we have? What does it matter? Everything else you can talk about if you can't even take a train to go to work or go to school and not be concerned, right? So we need to deal with that. So the issue of crime and lawlessness is real. And so it's multi-pronged and multi-level, from the street level, prostitution, drug sales, selling of stolen items on the street, unlicensed vendors, is just wholesale. The issue of people driving vehicles in the city of New York. I was a cop for 12 years. I've never in my life seen so many cars with phantom plates, phony plates, paper plates. I mean, we can talk about all these quality of life issues and the real impact that they're having. I want to give you for instance. I live in East Elmhurst, Queens. It's a historic community, a place where Malcolm X used to live, Louis Armstrong, Willie Mays, Harry Belafonte, and more. And so we have a history that is very rich in East Elmhurst. Now, something that you might think is not a big deal, as we would term, right? Mobile car washes. So we have people now setting up vans, 3, 4, 5 on a strip, and they're literally washing cars, no license, no environmental protections to ensure that the products that they're using are not causing damage to our community. We see it. And so if you take these things in their totality, it really has had a very negative impact on our quality of life. And that's why I'm running. I want to make sure that our local residents have a voice that will say with reason and with factual empirical data, listen, what's happening in our community right now is unacceptable. We deserve better. We're taxpayers. We're workers. We're middle class. We're civil service workers. We deserve to be in a community that is safe, that is clean, and that we can all enjoy. And that's my platform, clear and simple. We got to make it better for everyone so that we can enjoy the richness of living in New York City.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I remember, because I visited New York City twice, actually, once in 2015 and once again November. And so what you just described, what you want to bring forth to New Yorkers shouldn't even be something that people need a candidate to run on, because New York is beautiful. Like,
Yes.
It is an amazing city. People all across the world know about New York and the magnificence that is New York City. So when you're describing these things happening in the city, to me, my question is, this doesn't just happen overnight. Like, there is no way to deteriorate such a magnificent spectacle of the world in just like such a short amount of time. Do you know what's contributing to this? What is happening with New York?
Well, there's a lot of factors, right? The defund the police movement really had a negative impact. The bad bail laws really had a negative impact. We have less police officers today than we did 2 or 3 years ago, right? And so for those who would want to talk negatively about our police officers, I would say the following. We expect every New York City police officer to be a professional and courteous representative of the society. We expect nothing less from them. We have to ensure that all our police officers are abiding by the rules, abiding by the law, and treating all communities with respect. Having said that, we also need them to do their jobs, and we need them to keep us safe and enforce the laws that are on the book so that we can have a society that everyone can enjoy. And I don't see where there's a conflict with those two parameters. I believe you can have both. We can have a police department that serves with respect a community, but at the same time keeps us safe. And those two things should not conflict with each other. And so the platform is a simple one. We need our cops to protect us. We need them to respect us, and we work collectively with them. By the way, for those that are hyperly critical of our police officers, they do a tough job in many instances, one that is clearly not appreciated by many people, and we need them, and we see that every time that there's a disaster happening in our city, in our society, the importance the important role that they play. But there are also other major issues confronting New York City, not just the issue of public safety and quality of life, though I would put that as one of the top three, no doubt. We have, in my opinion, particularly in the borough of Queens, two other major issues that we're confronting. One is the issue of healthcare and the access to healthcare and what we have. COVID showed us, demonstrated to us clearly, unequivocally, and without a doubt that we need to be prepared, that our emergency healthcare system has to be prepared and ready to meet the challenges of the next pandemic. Why do I say that? Because it's just a matter of time. The science will show us that pandemics happen again and again. The viruses or the bacteria will take different names, different formats, but they're coming and we're not ready. Why do I say we're not ready? Elmhurst, Queens, which is part of the area that I will be representing, was the epicenter of the coronavirus and COVID-19 when it occurred in the United States. We were the epicenter. We suffered more deaths and illnesses per capita in this region of Queens than any other place in the United States. We had one major hospital. There were a couple, but the one major hospital that bore the brunt of this pandemic was Elmhurst Hospital in Queens. And we saw how FEMA and the City Department of Health and the city's Health and Hospital Corporation immediately got overwhelmed. We saw freezer trucks for literally the amount of corpses that we had in our area. And we would ask ourselves, have we created any more room? Have we ensured that we have expanded our health care delivery system? And the answer is we haven't, not in Queens, and that's an issue. Queens has twice the population that Manhattan has, but less than half the hospitals that our neighboring borough has. And so there's an inequality that occurs in the outer boroughs in New York City, which need to be addressed. But clearly, we need more hospital beds. We've had, in the last 10 or 20 years, at least 10 hospitals close in the borough of Queens. We haven't replaced them. We haven't even begun to have a conversation on how we do that. And so there are some very real issues that are impacting us that government has not responded to. The delivery of healthcare services and the issue of hospital beds in the borough of Queens is on the top of the list. Third is the issue of affordable housing. And what is the government doing investing our public dollars to help ameliorate a condition that currently exists? The lack of affordable housing, the fact that the average middle-class worker is being priced out of the outer boroughs now. So they've been priced out of Manhattan for a long time, but now it's impacting all the outer boroughs, Queens, Brooklyn, even the Bronx. And we see that instead of our government responding in an appropriate and active fashion, we have sent billions of dollars of public money for other projects like stadiums that really are not dealing with the human need of our community. Right now in our local community at Willis Point, the city council just voted in favor of creating a 25,000 soccer stadium. 25,000 seat soccer stadium. I love soccer. I love sports in general. But I don't think that we should be spending billions of dollars to promote corporate wealth for a small group of people when there's thousands and thousands of families that don't have a decent place to live. Mm-hmm. In our community, we have 15 homeless shelters, all hotels that were converted, right? And so the stopgap or the Band-Aid approach has been, let's just put them up in hotel rooms at about $3,000 to $5,000 a month per room, as opposed to taking those public dollars and investing them into creating affordable long-term housing to deal with the housing crisis and the homelessness crisis that our city and state is dealing with. So I want to be one of the forces that bring logical, rational thought. Let's use public dollars for the public good and not misspend it on enriching a very small group of people.
Absolutely. I'd love to hear something like that from a candidate running for elected office, because my concern with, at least here in local politics, maybe you can shed some light on how it works in New York in the legislature and things like that. It's good to help the less fortunate. I want to help the less fortunate. But is there a way to make sure that they re-enter and reintegrate into the workforce and become productive members of society? Because if they're put up in hotels for extended periods of time, then that's a very huge financial strain on the hardworking members of the local community, where that funds could actually be used for bringing even more benefit to society. So what is your thoughts on that?
I think you're absolutely right. The systematic siting of all these homeless shelters into communities does two things. One, it destabilizes that local community. Whatever community it is, when you're bringing in thousands of people who are not from that community and you're putting them up at a hotel to live, not to stay for 1 or 2 nights and then continue on their travels, but to live, they're living there. The strain that occurs to our local schools, where we are already overpopulated, the strain that occurs at our local daycares. Last year, one of the daycare owners who wanted to speak anonymous to me about the issue reported to me that there were children from our community who got placed out of daycare because the kids who were coming in were given vouchers and they were given priority. And that's clearly unacceptable. And so if we don't really have a real plan long term, how do we get people in and out of the shelter system into permanent housing with the wraparound services that they need so that they can be productive? Look, we want people to work. We want people to pay their rent. We want people to pay their mortgage. We want people to incorporate themselves into society and to be productive. And there are going to be times that government needs to step in to help people to get to that place. That's the issue. And there's the rub, right? There are some people who say, no, we don't want to help anyone. Clearly, that's not the way to go. There are other people who are going to say, oh, just give away the store. That's not going to work. We have to do it in such a fashion that whatever the government uses out of its public resources are being spent towards something that's really going to have a positive impact on the entire society. And so we really need a holistic approach. And quite frankly, not all this political pandering from the left or from the right. They engage in rhetoric, but not problem solving. We need more problem solving in government.
Yeah, I'd love to hear that, because I will unashamedly say that I've had to use government assistance to get off my feet, to get back on my feet. One time, about 10 years ago, I had to get funding, food stamps, and I also got 3 months of state-funded living facility because I was suffering from addiction pretty badly. And through this program, I was able to get back up on my feet and re-enter the workforce, and actually haven't had to use government assistance since then. So 3 months, that's all I needed. And I'm grateful for the opportunity. And I'm in Texas. We get a lot of bad rap about how apparently we suck at taking care of the people less fortunate. But I mean, I was helped pretty well. So I believe there is a time and a place when every human being should be allotted the opportunity to take that emergency assistance if they need to help re-enter society. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And I think that's part of what makes American society great, that that support is there. And I think it's important. And clearly you're a success story. So I want to salute you, because you're an inspiration to everyone who's watching this program right now. The fact that you had a difficult patch in your life and you were able to come back and rise up again is a testament to who you are and what can be done when we invest in others. Look, I've had my life. I've made my share of mistakes too and bad decisions, just like every other human being has. The fact is we learn from our mistakes. We learn from experiences, both good and bad. And then we go out and we do better and we do the right thing. That's what you showed. That's what I've shown. And I think together we can continue to to promote a message to people that just because you're down for the moment doesn't mean you have to be down forever. And so I'm glad that you opened up, and I'm opening up slightly about my personal life. I'm glad to be here. Part of the reason why I'm running is because I'm bringing all those experiences to fruition. So I understand from both sides of the argument how we need to work collectively to make our society a better place for all of us. Finally, on that point, my son's going to be 5 years old next month. I
Cool.
became a father again. I got remarried. I've been married now almost 8 years. In December, I'm going to have my 8-year anniversary. And, my life has changed for the better in so many ways. And I'm just happy that I'm participating, bringing my ideas into the marketplace of debate and discussion. I think it's healthy. What I am a little saddened about is how much dissension we have and how much it appears that everyone seems to be yelling at each other, right? Not everything should be a protest or a yelling. I think that we just need to come together and really sit down and figure out how do we make our governments on the local and the federal level work for the benefit of the people. And that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, absolutely. So my final question before we close out for the session is another thing that Texas has been notorious for sending migrants, illegal aliens to New York City. I believe there is some impact that's having on New York City. Could you touch on that? What is the migrant crisis, the impact having on New York and in your district specifically?
Well, look, for anyone to say that the migrant crisis has not had an impact, they would be disingenuous and, quite frankly, dishonest. I think in the city of New York, we're hovering around the 200,000 people mark. Even a municipality as big, as strong as the city of New York, there's no way that you're going to absorb that many people without it having a real fiscal and physical impact. We look forward to a time when the federal government figures it out. And so I'm going to go back to my earlier point. We need the Republicans and the Democrats at the national level to stop pointing fingers at each other and come together and make solutions happen. It's unfortunate because the political bickering, particularly surrounding campaigns on both sides, it rises to such a level that, we lose sight of the real mandate. What's the real mandate for Congress and for the U.S. Senate and for the president? You need to represent all of us, even the people who didn't vote for you. So we can't be a society where it's blue and red. No, we need to come together and figure it out. Yes, there'll be some campaigning and we'll talk about why I'm the best person, my opponent's not the best person, and so forth. But at the end of the day, we have to come up with solutions for the people in our country, in our states, in our city. And so the federal government has to come to terms with the issue of immigration, how to deal with it, whatever controls are going to be set. And they also need to be talking about some real pathways to citizenship. We have people who are living in our country 20 and 30 years, who are paying taxes, who are working, and there's no clear path for them. And that's unfortunate, right? Because they already have deep roots in our community. They have children, they have grandchildren, they have businesses. We see it all over New York. People literally who are living here and not necessarily and don't have the opportunity for citizenship, who have contributed so much to our society. And so I really look at this holistically and say, we need to come to the tables. The issue of immigration has to be resolved. The busing of close to 200,000 people to the city of New York, I don't think was right. Clearly, it impacted us. I understand the governor in the state of Texas has his views on that, but I don't think it was right to ship all these human beings up to the state of New York in what appeared to me to be clearly a political mission. I think at the end of the day, we should understand that they're human beings, their fathers, their mothers, their children. Some of those children I've come to know in the public schools in my community and to the parents. And, my heart really goes out particularly to the children who are innocent completely. And they're literally living in the middle of this political turmoil and uncertainty. And God, I really hope we find a solution. We really have to make it better for everyone.
Yeah, I love to hear what you say. I'm happy to share your message with the community. Hopefully that the New Yorkers that are listening to this, make sure to share this video with other people in the district so that you can help people vote and make the best possible decision at the ballot box. Because in every election, whether it's city, county, local, state, federal, we have to make the best decision based on the best ideas and not based on whoever has the most amount of billboards, whoever has the most amount of radio and stuff like that. So I hope this opportunity gave you an opportunity to kind of understand Mr. Hiram's policy points, a deep dive, hear it from his heart, and hear what he has to say. So with all that being said, if you could share in about a minute or so for us to kind of clip and put on TikTok if it doesn't get banned, this is who I am, this is why you should vote for me, how would you say that?
I would say my name is Hiram Montserrat. On June 25th in our local community, you'll have an incredibly important decision to make. Who will represent us? For 32 years, we had one representative, and now that representative is retiring, and I would ask you to vote for me. I believe that I have the most experience, both my total life experience, whether it was the police department, the city council, the Senate, being a district leader. I'm going to bring all my experiences to full fruition to the benefit of our community. We deserve better. We deserve safer streets, cleaner streets, an MTA that really works, and an economy that lifts everyone up. That's my goal. That's my mission. And I ask for your vote.
Wonderful. So for all the viewers that have tuned in, make sure to share this video with other people and help everybody participate in the wonderfully constitutionally enshrined right to participate in the democratic process. It's more important than ever to get everybody mobilized to vote and vote intelligently. So hopefully this video was able to help you make an educated decision. With all that being said, thank you guys for tuning in. Mr. Hiram, it was awesome having you on. I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. With all that being said, we'll see you guys in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.